people being able to walk to get something to eat or walk to the beach. Those are all things that will improve everybody's quality of life.
Because I think at our stage of life, we need that. We need to feel that we can have some fun and not feel guilty.
We look for people who care about our seniors and who want to work at Wesley Palms.
Because everybody's idea of what's best is very different.
I'm looking forward to signing up.
Yeah, we'll have a place for you.
Welcome to Senior Stay or Go TV. Today we have two guests from Abrios Biosciences. We have Dr. Bradley Mesner, who's the CEO, and we have Dr. Dina Usri, who is the Chief Scientist. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome
Very happy to be
show.
here.
It's an honor to have you here. It's been a while in coming, and we really appreciate you joining us today. So, I'm going to call you Dr. Brad. Tell us a little bit about the background of the company you founded, when you founded it, and really its mission.
Okay, so Abrios Biosciences was founded 3 years ago. I'm still part-time faculty at UCSD where I work in the Cancer Center, and we decided to found the company to try to commercialize technologies we had developed in the more academic research basis. And the goal of the company is to bring to market tests that measure the levels of very expensive drugs so that patients can be dosed properly. And for the last 3 years, we've been developing prototypes of our first products, setting up collaborations with clinical partners, and doing all the things a company needs to do to go from an academic idea into a commercial product.
So we're looking for funding.
Of course, that never ends.
And again, before we move on to the next question, I just want to say how important it is for the people listening. Patty and I in our work continually see people over-medicated. And we salute this product. We are passionate about your product, getting it to market and getting it on everybody's kitchen table, because that is the one thing that we rail against when we are with seniors is who's helping them take. You can't give the same prescription to everybody and expect the same result. It doesn't make any sense. So we honor you and salute you, and we're passionate for your product.
Same prescription and same dose. So you talk about personalized medicine. Can you define that? Because that word probably gets used somewhat generically, but it probably has a more specific, real definition.
Yeah, so personalized medicine and precision medicine are buzzwords right now. And generally what it's thought to mean is that you want to give the right patient the right drug. Particularly, for instance, in cancer, we now know a lot about the underlying basis of cancer. And so a drug that'll work in one person won't work in another person, even with the same type of disease. So traditionally, that's been what personalized medicine has meant. But what we think is really a significant portion of that is you have to have the right drug for the right patient, but you also have to have the right dose. And you may even have the right drug, but if a patient's body gets rid of the drug too quickly, it's not the right drug for that patient. And so that's the part that we think is missing right now and what we're aiming to achieve with our products.
Awesome.
So Dina, let's ask you. You're the chief scientist. What is your role in the company, and why is personalized dosing so important?
So when I joined the company about 2 years ago, I helped to write some of the initial grants to help get the funding to start our first laboratory and really build out our first test. And so we did a lot of rapid prototyping, and I learned the technology hands-on, and have been really building out our pipeline and to build the different tests that we have against all the different drugs that are out there for both cancer as well as chronic diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and so forth. And personalized medicine has become really an important issue as we understand that people are really variable and that the drugs right now are dosed one size fits all. And so we really need to fine-tune that dosing and make sure that patients are getting the right amount, not too much and not underdosed where they don't get any clinical benefit at all.
A little bit about the product itself. How will it work?
So one of our first prototypes, which I can actually show you, it's like a finger stick blood test. And so this is a 15-minute blood test, and you would take a finger prick of blood and you would apply it to this hole right here, and it would run on this pregnancy-like test strip, which is inside. It's kind of like a glucose test. And it would provide a measure of the drug level in your blood and tell you in real time how much drug you actually have in your body, so that you can then tie that to what we understand about that drug and where it should be and where you should be, and then better optimize your next dosing.
And this device could live in the clinician's office, or ultimately, since many of these drugs are given by injection with the patients themselves, we look to have a home version that's Bluetooth enabled and can talk to the cloud, so that way a patient wouldn't even have to go into the clinic. The doctor would know that that patient's dosing is correct, or if it needs to be adjusted, could tell them, well, maybe wait a few days or postpone your next dose for a week.
It's just such a monumental cost-saving device. I mean, Patty and I have clients that are in their 80s on their they have iPhones, their iWatch, not iPhone,
the watch, the
iWatch. So I'm sure it could all come to, they could probably read out their findings on their iWatch and certainly some of their smartphones.
And that's one thing I don't think, at least I didn't appreciate. I mean, so many of these drugs are now so expensive. I mean, it's not like, take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning, where if you take 3, big deal. But we're talking about drugs that cost on the order of $1,000 to $5,000 to $8,000 a dose. So in patients with arthritis or chronic diseases that are taking these every 2 weeks or every month, we're talking about annual costs in the tens, in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, getting the dose right has significant economic impact as well as for the health of the patient.
So you talk about the economic impact, and I understand that you haven't really begun your clinical trials yet to really put a defined number to it. But do you have a range of where you think you're going to be targeting to actually have a cost effectiveness?
Yeah, so in general, there's actually quite a bit of data in the literature now that shows that for most of these types of drugs, because of pharma's one-size-fits-all dosing approach that Dina mentioned, about a quarter to a third of patients are probably getting way more than they need. And so you can just kind of do some back-of-the-envelope math and say, well, if you just get those patients right, as well as identify the patients that aren't responding to the drug, the savings are going to be significant. So 25 to 35% of a $100,000 a year drug is, the single. Yeah, that's a very effective way of bringing healthcare costs down. And in fact, these types of drugs are the single biggest driver of the increase in healthcare costs in the United States. So this is really important. We can't keep paying this much for drugs and give them to everybody.
Yep.
Have we knocked on the head of Medicare's door and said, people?
We would like to. Medicare is like any government entity, is a very large beast, and one that you get 1 or 2 bites at the apple. So we have to time that knock very carefully once we have the right data. But
to be able to get on the formularies and things like that.
Yeah, that's we work in a regulated industry, so there are lots of rules and there's lots of intermediate steps that we have to do to show that we are delivering a quality product. We have to go to FDA for some of our products, get approval.
It is FDA?
Yeah, this is
so this kind of device would be FDA. There is the possibility that we can offer a lab-based test where a doctor can draw blood and send it to a lab, and we're actually launching our first product for a lab test in a few months.
Oh, awesome.
And then in Europe, there's sort of an intermediate. We can get what's called a CE mark, which is their equivalent of FDA. So you still need to have all the quality systems and show that your stuff actually does what it's supposed to, but you can go to market a little bit faster in Europe. So we're looking at all of those.
Does it make sense for people who are going to view this and get on your website and like a wait list if they were interested in clinical trials down the road?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I mean, we want to get our story out there. We want people to be aware of the current state of medications for these types of diseases. And then I think, if they have doctors who are, especially at academic centers, we would be interested in working with these doctors and setting up a clinical study at that location.
Well, that's what we're going to do.
Point.
We're going to get that done. So when do you see the test being available to patients?
The clinical trials.
Yeah, so we're our first product will be for the drug Dosage, which is used in multiple sclerosis. And it actually has a very dangerous side effect that's associated with excessive dose levels. So we're going to launch that laboratory-based test hopefully in the next few months. We're in the process of getting it validated right now. And we are pushing forward with that because the MS physicians, the patients that treat these, or the doctors that treat these patients, they told us we need this right now. We can't wait for FDA on a device, so we're going to bring that to market as fast as we can. Our first home use tests will take several more months, and the FDA process is at least a year.
Well, Dr. Brad and Dr. Dina, we want to give you last word in terms of something that you want to tell the people who are viewing this and to spread the word. What would you like to say?
Well, I'd like to say to patients taking these drugs to ask their doctor, why am I getting this amount? Or how do you know that this is the right amount for me? Because the doctors generally, they have leeway even now without the data that we would provide. They actually know generally I could probably give this one a little more or a little less. And so I think the personalized medicine revolution is coming, and the doctors are at the forefront of it. So patients can help sort of nudge their physicians to become, as Dina likes to say, precision physicians.
I like that. I'm going to write that down. Can I steal that from you now?
And then certainly if they want to visit our website, which is www.abreos.com, patient testimonials or just interest from people that are taking these medications
awesome.
are very valuable for us in showing that there's a need and a demand for our products.
Well, we highly encourage that. And on today's show, one of our guests is going to be a geriatric care manager. And that is really their job, and that's somebody I think would be good for you guys to connect with, because the geriatric care manager is the intermediary between a patient and the physician in terms of what are all these drugs doing. So they would be somebody who would really somebody to connect with as well. So
Yeah.
we'll do that.
And actually another side benefit of our products is that you can tell that a patient's taking their drugs, which particularly in the geriatric setting, adherence to medication
It's
schedules
always
is
an
a
issue.
big problem. So there's several other benefits outside of the direct cost analysis.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank
Well,
you.
we San Diego, we are encouraged for your success, and we are going to see it through to big things. So thank you for being here today. So stay tuned for more Senior Stay or Go TV.